Welcome to Cut the Crop, keeping you in the know about everything you grow. Researchers, growers and other interesting folk delivering insights and information on topics ranging from agronomy to profitability. Brought to you by the Foundation for Arable Research.
Hello and welcome to Cut the Crop. I'm Anna Heslop and today my guest is FAR Deputy Board Chair Steve Wilkins from Southland. Steve is a member of the Southland Arable Hub steering group. Now that Southland Hub was set up a year ago and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Firstly, Steve, welcome. And can you please tell us what the hub is and why it was established?
Good morning, Anna. Thank you. So the Southern Arable Hub was, I guess its inception started maybe nearly 2 years ago through a conversation with at the RDAC meeting, Research and Development Advisory Committee meeting, was the suggestion was made, and then so from there, the group looked to, or FAR looked to find a suitable site in Southland that would be both central and representative, I suppose, of some of the cropping areas that the growers are based in. So, and the rationale behind setting it up was to provide a focal point for growers to go and where there could be field days and events and so forth that would be held. And so it's the site is in Knapdale, which is about 12, 14 k's from Gore, and it's a 2 hectare site which is adjacent to both Knapdale School and also the Knapdale Hall, which is also available for, the hall itself is available for events and so forth as well, and has been used over the last sort of 12 months as the site's been set up.
So what went in there for a start?
So last year, and it was we took over the site in March, I think 12 months ago. And so, as I said, being a 2 hectare site, the decision was made to put 1 hectare was put into autumn sown barley, and the other hectare was put into autumn sown wheat. And that was subsequently harvested back in February. And amongst that crop, or those crops, there was aphid traps put in, and there was monitoring of aphids throughout the season as well. So, and there's been a weather site has been installed there as well, which is accessible through the website, which is provides up-to-date information on weather as well and daily reports. So, now at this stage, the decision was made so there was a steering committee set up maybe 2 months ago, I suppose, to sort of, I guess, steer or administer and manage the site. And so the decision was made to put in a green feed crop through winter, which will be grazed in the winter, and then some decisions will be made over winter as to what happens in the spring. And we're looking to growers for ideas around what that might look like at this stage. So if anybody has any thoughts, it would be great to hear.
So when you were saying when you set up the site to be kind of a focal point for Southland, and clearly FAR has other research sites around the country, but you want something that's going to draw the locals in and going to be really relevant to your Southland, South Otago community. How different is farming in those areas to what they might see when they come up to Canterbury?
Well, I suppose, firstly, not all of the growers can make the trip up to Chertsey to the annual field day up there, because it sort of falls at a busy time for everyone. So not everyone gets up there to have a look and see what is happening at the site there. But also, back to your question around what's different, well, I suppose climatically different to begin with, in that, we've got a cooler climate and less intense heat over the summer, and a longer winter, which changes the profile of our harvests a little bit later. Our crops are somewhat later in the southern region to what they would be in Canterbury. But also disease and weed pressures are different as well. We're dealing with different issues perhaps than what will be seen more commonly in Canterbury. And the crops grown perhaps differs a little bit too, in that I guess the southern region is relatively heavily reliant on the feed industry, and there's less seed crops grown than what we might see in Canterbury, and that's due to processing and distance and logistics, but also climate as well.
Okay, so what's happening after the green feed over the winter, or is that the sort of decision that you're hoping to get some feedback on from local growers?
Yeah, we're just working through that at the moment, and we're sort of looking forward to feedback from growers as to what might be a good option. And I suppose we're not looking to put in trial plots as such. There are other trial plots that on farms in the region, and we're probably better to leave those there, I guess, to have them in a farm situation as opposed to on this 2 hectare site, and also the protocols and replications that would be needed to get trials underway here. It's probably not practical. So the thought is that we would have some sort of a focal, something that would be visual, that would be attractive to draw the growers in to be a part of and have a look at. And we're not looking necessarily for successes in anything we do. It might be contrasts and things that haven't worked or don't work, or when things go wrong. And, this year we've seen quite an increase in maize down here. Might be interesting to have some maize in that block for next summer. But this is to be driven by the growers. So let's hear your thoughts.
So now you're mentioning the weather and aphid traps there. They're feeding into the national network, is that right? Yes,
they are. So the FAR, in conjunction with Hawk Plus, have set up a new aphid monitoring tool, and so I guess that'll be part of that. In that it's a technical tool that can be used in decision making based on aphid pressures and so forth. So while it might not be relevant to all of the growers across the region, it gives some sort of indication as to where the region is at in terms of aphid pressure. So it's quite exciting. The RDAC have been part of the setup of that and the conversation around the trialling of that. So it's, as far as I'm aware, still in development, but yeah, that'll be part of that too. So.
So just we'll sum up on Knapdale, and then we might just have a quick chat about how the season has gone, or actually, in fact, is still going in Southland for some growers. But who's on that committee, and so who should people get in touch with if they've got ideas about what could happen at Knapdale?
I'm chairing the committee. We've got Howard Clark, we've got Michael Gardine, Nick Hishin, Callum Mitchell, and Andy Pittman and Ivan Lowry from FAR. So any of those people are involved, and so you can obviously contact any of them with any thoughts or ideas you might have. And we'd really look forward to that because, as I said, it is the growers' resource, and so their input is obviously valuable. Yeah.
Yeah, I was at the meeting when this idea came up, and I think initially the growers thought, it's a bit of a joke, we'll challenge FAR and say, hey, we want our own research hub. And now they've got it. We really want to see them step up and get involved. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm the same as you, Anna. It seemed like a great idea at the time, but probably not one that we're going to get off the ground. But so here we are now a couple of years later, and it's really quite exciting to be able to have this. And so it'll be great to make, as much use of it as we can. And certainly it could be the envy of many of the other regions too. So, yeah. Okay,
so let's do a quick post-harvest roundup. And I'm very aware, just for listeners, we're recording this on the 1st of May. I was down in Southland a couple of days ago at a meeting which a couple of people weren't able to attend because they're still harvesting down there. What's harvest been like across Southland and South Otago?
So, yes, you're right, and harvest has been still going on the last couple of days. Today is not a great day, 12 mils of rain where I am overnight, but when you look around the county, it looks a lot wetter than that. There's been sort of 35 mils and then 20 mils and various different rainfall events over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And so things have gradually been getting wetter and wetter, not only holding up the last of the harvest, which is all but done, but there is a little, the odd pocket of spring barley and perhaps oats. And I would hope that most of the seed crops are done. But in the last couple of days there's been a big push, but there's also the new, seeding winter crops going in has been challenged a little bit too, and so that's perhaps been pushed back a little bit. We are, for the most part, done, but I know there is quite a little bit still to go in. The harvest in general was a good. Yield's been good across the board. I think everybody's reasonably happy, perhaps with the exception of South Otago, where moisture was an issue, the further east you went, the less rain there was over the late spring and summer. So that's been a little bit challenging for some of the growers out that way and taking the edge off some yields. And harvest itself sort of stop-start and a little bit challenging, but through colder periods and slow ripening and things, which has probably led to, why we're at the start of May now with potentially a little bit of crop left to harvest.
What's looking like going in the ground for the next season? Have you guys been impacted by contracts and availability and access to seed, which is what we're hearing all around the place?
Yeah, I guess the biggest one for growers here was probably grass seed contracts, perhaps the lack of appetite for grass seed. So, and what those crops are going to go into is probably, again, as I said, we're relatively reliant on the feed industry, so it's possibly going to go into feed grains. What that looks like, over the next 12 months will be interesting because there has been, as I said, good yields this harvest. A little bit of lack of demand from the feed industry in terms of a good growing season in the pastoral areas of Southland. So that's been a little bit slow. So, we'll just watch the space, I guess. There are other spring options, that are starting to become more widely grown down here, things like linseed and so forth, but they're relatively small areas, so we'll just see. And I guess the other thing is that sheep and beef industry are looking to bolster their cash flows a little bit, and it can be easy for them to put in a couple of paddocks of crop too, which doesn't do much for the balance in terms of how much available feed there is in the feed industry, but we'll just see how it goes.
Okay, thanks very much, Steve. So if you're in Southland and you're interested in what's happening at Knapdale, jump up, get in touch with someone, to Steve or one of the other members of that group. And if you're in Southland, hopefully by the time you hear this, harvest is well and truly sown up and you've got those next lot of crops in the ground. Thanks, Steve, and everybody out there. Have a great day on the farm.
Thanks for tuning in to Cut the Crop, presented to you by FAR. If you'd like to know more about any of the topics discussed or have any suggestions for future topics, go to www.cutthecrop.co.nz.